from the Pepsi studios in Scottsdale, Arizona, it's the Hospitality Hangout featuring the finance guy and the restaurant guy. Jimbo, we've got a great show, and we are live from IFMA, the International Foodservice Manufacturers Association's President's Conference. Jimmy, it is a great show, and I got to tell you, where are you coming from, Jimbo?
I'm coming to you live from Brickell. I'm down in Miami for the Global Restaurant Leadership Conference. But I got to say, we might be dividing and conquering, but the favor goes to IFMA because IFMA gets the podcast. You're patching me into Arizona, and all the guys at RLC, we'll see you next time. Not this time, guys. You didn't get the nod.
Well, Jimbo, we didn't know how long you're going to be there. We didn't know what was going on. I mean, you're down at the Global Restaurant Leadership Conference, and then you hit to Palm Beach for another private equity event. You're bopping around. So let's take it away, Jimbo, because we got a great podcast.
We do have a great show. What a fantastic lineup. And nothing more so than right now. Listen, more formally, we're so formal. More formally, thank you so much for joining us for the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the finance guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the restaurant guy.
And Madonna. Hey, thanks for that introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. Together, we're the personalities behind Branded Hospitality Ventures. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, and capital.
Okay, listen,
Hey, Jimmy, we got a guest, and I got to tell you, he's getting antsy. He's been here a half hour because your sound didn't work.
Yes. I also would say he's thinking about terminating his communications director for putting him in this position. So let's not get his communications director terminated on this beautiful Monday down in Miami. So go ahead, Shatsy, kick us off.
Well, I got to tell you, George McKerrow, CEO at Ted's Montana Grill. And, usually we give guests gifts when they come on the podcast, not with Ted. This guy is, when you talk about hospitality, Ted is hospitality. You know what he came with, Jimmy? 2 gift cards for us. He came with gift cards because, Ted's got a big store in New York City, right in Midtown near Rock Center. So me and you are going to have dinner or lunch with Ted, and he already gave us $40 off. So I'm really looking forward to that. So let's kick it off. George, thanks so much for joining us in the podcast. Before we dig in, we'd like to find out how our guests came to their current positions. So let's just talk. Let's go back. We're going back a few years, okay? 1995, you're at Ohio State University. It was before that. 1986. Political science. You're thinking political science. Do I want to be the governor? Do I want to be a mayor? What do I want to do? I want to be in politics. But no. You opened the first ever LongHorn Steakhouse in 1981. Is this correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. All right, Jimmy, I knew we had something right. And I got to tell you, he founded Ted's Montana Grill in January of 2002. There are currently 44 Ted's locations in 18 states. Tell us, how did you go from Ohio State political science? You thought you were going to be the governor or a senator, but no, you come into restaurants.
Shatsy, can I just show our guests some respect? Please, it is the Ohio State. Please, Shatsy, please.
Thank you, Jimbo.
That's true. Number one.
The Ohio State.
The Ohio State. Well, listen, thank you for having me on, you guys. It's a lot of fun. It's always good to be here. I love our industry. I got a job when I was 16 for gas money, and the restaurant bug got in my head. And I was supposed to go to law school, and I got a job in the restaurant instead as a busboy. And again, I fell in love with it. So my course of action was I went to work for a company called Victoria Station Restaurants, Prime Rib House, worked my way up, and they moved me from Cincinnati, Ohio, down to Atlanta, Georgia, where I've been ever since 1976. And in 1981, I founded the first LongHorn Steakhouse on Peachtree Road on a 40-mile-an-hour curve with a one-way driveway, and brought, what we call high-quality Texas honky-tonk saloon to the public. And we really struggled the first year, but we took off. And 10 years later, I took it public, and we ended up buying the Capitol Grill and Bugaboo Creek restaurants from Ned Grace, and turned it into Rare Hospitality in 97. And in 2001, I retired as chairman and CEO of the company. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I had been watching Ted Turner try to bring bison to America's table and save the species along the way and create, a market for that wonderful product. And I approached him with a business deal and we became partners.
You made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Is that true?
Well, let's put it this way. At the time, he was worth about $9 or $10 billion and he was accumulating large pieces of land and he wanted the bison industry. We had 4 pillars: save the great American bison, help the bison ranchers, give his family and future generations the ability to financially hold on to all these vast properties, 2 million acres of ranch land he accumulated, and build a restaurant company we could be proud of and that was profitable. We accomplished all that, doubled the size of the herd, brought bison to America's table. It's available in every grocery store in America. And along the way, I settled in Atlanta and have some fine dining restaurants. I've been in all sorts of different.
What's the Canoe?
Canoe is a James Boyd award-winning restaurant that was opened in 1995. Georgia local restaurant, sustainable and organic. Before that was all cool. It's on the river in the Vinings in Atlanta, Georgia, and we've been luckily there for 29 years.
I love it. Hey, Jimmy, you know what you and George have in common? Really long intros. I mean,
I like
his
the intro. By the way, Shatsy, George was dropping nuggets of knowledge. He casually mentioned that's gonna slip by almost everyone of our listeners.
Called Ted Turner on the phone.
Well, that's not gonna slip past any of our listeners. He talked about the 40-mile-an-hour turn and the driveway he had. To a lot of restaurateurs, we know that's a big headache. If your in and out driveway is facing a 40-mile-an-hour turn on the road,
good.
That's not good. And yet there's a great story here. So that location might have been somewhat questionable given the driveway, but I love the knowledge he was dropping. Listen, George, it's not every day. It's rare that we have a 40-year restaurant veteran on the show. So I hope you'll allow me to do a little bragging on your behalf. Actually, I'm spending some time with Nation's Restaurant News. They're good friends of ours down here at the Global RLC. They said you've been titled with the Dinner House Legend, and you're credited for giving birth to an entire casual dining segment. Whether or not you want to own that or not, I got to tell you, that's how Nation's Restaurant News talked about you when you founded LongHorn Steakhouse. That you've established this entire. What's that?
You talking to Chris Keating down there?
Yes.
Nice.
I am. But can you go back and share with us a little bit how you turned a single unit LongHorn, now with a driveway we know is a challenge, into the multi-unit casual dining phenomenon that it became?
Yeah, well, thank you very much and for that. And actually, we were first to the market with what we're going to call Texas Roadhouse. Later, there's been 8 or 9 publicly traded companies that were similar to. I was actually partners with Jamie Coulter and Lone Star and sold them a license many times. But the very beginning was this. Yes, we were in a very questionable location, but I could afford the rent. And, I could afford to build a restaurant, which I did. I designed it on my dining room table. And I sat there the first night we opened. I had 300 of my closest friends in for free food and beverage the night before. Thought it was going to be an overnight success.
Right.
We did 14 lunches and 21 dinners. Restaurant failed before it ever succeeded. But I'm stuck there and I deliver, great food, great service, a great attitude, and a fun honky-tonk saloon. And quality always speaks well to the consumer and consistent, genuine hospitality. And after a year, we realized our business was thriving. And after 2 years, we opened the second restaurant. We continued to grow restaurants in the Georgia and Southeast marketplace. And then we took advantage of taking the company public, in 92. Ironically, Lone Star went out 2 weeks before us, and everybody had assumed that they were the first in the marketplace. But LongHorn was the first Texas honky-tonks.
I love it. I got to tell you. Have you ever written a book?
Me?
Yeah.
Not yet.
I got to tell you, it sounds like you got a lot of information and you got a lot of great stories. It sounds to me like you got to write a book. When you write it, give me a story. Give me a great story that you can remember in your restaurant career. Like that's just unbelievable. That would be like either a chapter, just a great anecdote or a great story about the restaurant business. Cause Jimmy and Jimmy started as a bartender. I started as a bartender. I mean, we always have some great stories. You made a great.
Yeah, well, I started as a bartender too. I worked my way from busboy to barman and a bartender. And I just want to say something real quick about our industry. Most people that are successful, whether they're in the C-suite as a CEO or independent restaurateurs, all started as an hourly team member. And that's the beauty of our business. The upward mobility is unlimited. So those of you that don't know, the restaurant is a great place to build a career. But anyway, so I opened that restaurant in August of 1981, the first LongHorn. And I told you, we were on a 40-mile-an-hour curb coming down the bottom of the hill. At the end of January 1982, we had a terrible snowstorm in Atlanta. In Atlanta, when it snows, nobody knows how to drive. Nobody's prepared to drive. And, it also oftentimes turns to ice. Unfortunately. So we had this massive snowstorm, and I'm sitting at the bar with a friend of mine, bemoaning the fact that we're doing no business, right? Probably having a few cocktails. And I had one of those little signs on the side of the building with a blinking arrow and the plastic letters on it.
Anything to get them in.
The city had arrested me and told me I had to put it away,
right.
But I still had it. So I looked out and saw all these cars slipping and sliding down the hill, people abandoning the cars, walking around, snow coming down. And I said, I'm going to put a sign out, drinks $1 while it snows.
I love it.
I put a sign out with the blinking arrow, said, drinks $1 while it snows. I didn't really think about the fact that there wasn't any of my team members that were going to be able to get to work and few employees. And I lived up the street. This is a true story. So I called everybody. I said, you've got to get in here. People are starting to come in. And I managed to get a few friends and a few other people. And here's what I know. That night we did $700 across the bar at $1 a drink. The place was mobbed. We had a great night. It's a snow jam of 1982. And we were fortunate because our little restaurant was just down the street from the hospitals and the power stayed on. So all weekend I had everybody sleep at my apartment and we went down and served the community. And in many folklore stories, it's one of the reasons why LongHorn took off.
I love it. I love it. That's good. And by the way, $700 $1 a drink.
By the way, I like Snow Jam.
Jimbo, if I was the bartender there, you know how much money you would have made?
Yeah, that'd be zero.
Zero.
Yeah, George,
$700 drinks away.
The reason why we had to promote Shatsy to managing partner was when he was behind the bar, he couldn't manage the serve the guests and run the register. So he would always just give the drinks and say, I'll settle up with you later. I'll set up with you later. And basically we were like, you know what? We ought to get him out from behind the bar and let him run the joint, but don't let him run the register.
Yeah, you had to hand him like 4 Corona. How you'll get me later? Get me later. Yeah.
Michael, get you later, Shatsy.
It's not good practice. That's why Jimmy said that they took me away from the bar.
Yeah, get away from the bar.
Good practice,
If there's one constant in the restaurant industry, it's change. Whether you're a growing brand trying to build cutting-edge experiences for your guests or a national leader with thousands and thousands of stores looking to update your tech stack, well, Toast brings together proven technology, expertise, and innovations you need to drive change and spark growth. That's right, drive change and spark growth. From front of house to back of the house and everything in between, corporate teams, franchisees, enterprise brands, mom pops, SMBs, you name it, everyone is loving Toast. With over 100,000 operators using Toast, you know it's the best POS out there. And many more trust Toast to help them stay ahead of the curve and thrive in this changing restaurant world that we love. To learn more about Toast, go to toasttab.com. That's toasttab.com. And I got to tell you, you're going to love it. Mention Shatsy, and I think they're going to give you some crazy discount.
Well, listen, George, you've had an extraordinary career. Again, many people, including ourselves, we would only dream of to aspire to achieve. I actually think we should do an entire segment of 40 questions over 40 years. And we could get one question spanning each year of your career. But given the time constraints, how about 3 of the greatest lessons you've learned? Maybe one from the early, maybe one from the growth, and one from recent history. Maybe three lessons that you could share for aspiring hospitality folks.
Well, number one is the first lesson I learned, because I had a partner at the very beginning of LongHorn, and he was supposed to have the money and I was supposed to have the expertise, and I was supposed to manage the business. And we didn't have good paperwork. I didn't really investigate what was going on. It was kind of a handshake deal. It turned out he didn't have the money. So the restaurant could shut down in the middle of construction, and we were out of money. And you all know you can't peddle a young, I was 30 years old, kid's resume at the bank and try to get a loan. And, I literally got a job as a bartender on the street, paid the rent, keep the place going.
That's classic. I love it.
And I refocused and wrote a business plan, and I went and got my father and 2 other investor friends I had to come up with the money, buy that partner out, start the business. So I guess lesson number 1 to me is know your financial stability and have some extra money in the bank, because I forgot I wrote the plumber a check for $7,000. And when we opened the door, we were out of cash and I was $7,000 overdrawn at the bank.
Yeah.
That's not a good place to be. So it always costs more. You never an overnight.
We always say, whatever you think it costs, double it.
Exactly. So have good financial footing before you get started. Number 2, I think the biggest lesson I learned along the way is you can't do it without great people. And it's creating a culture of inclusion, a culture of fun, a culture of genuine hospitality, treating each other with honor, dignity, and respect, and welcoming guests into our restaurants as if they're coming into our own home. And when you say hello and goodbye to every guest and make them feel important, they come back for more.
Yep.
And it's a given you've got to cook the food right. It's a given you've got to have a place that, is accessible, et cetera.
Yep.
But the truth of the matter is it's that genuine hospitality at the front door. And that's how we won people over at LongHorn. We just couldn't believe it. And I'd say that the next bigger lesson is when you go out to finance your restaurant, if you're going to go, this isn't a knock on it. We need private equity investors in our business. We need Wall Street in our business. But it changes the complex of how you're going to do business. Because what I learned very quickly when we went public is that Wall Street's looking for predictability. And the only thing predictable about the restaurant business is it's unpredictable.
That's for sure.
So I used to say that investment banking community, and they didn't like it. But I explained that we can do the best we can to try to understand predictability. But the truth of the matter is, it's terribly unpredictable. We're only as good as the number of guests that come through the door every day.
Yeah, snowstorms, weather, this type of thing. You just don't know.
Well, how about a pandemic?
Pandemic, yeah, that was a good one too.
That was
Who
a
knew?
good one.
That was a good one. You're right about that.
How about the real
I
estate
think those,
down?
Yeah, well,
that was a good one.
yeah.
those are all great. And I want to go back to something you said a little while ago. You talked about, almost like the democratization. You started out as a busboy or a bar back. You worked your way up to working behind the bar. Shatsy, I was at a panel this morning, the opening panel of Global Restaurant Leadership Conference. Every panelist on this opening session cut their teeth on the floor. As George said, hourly worker. Every one of them was a waiter, a delivery person, a cashier. All 5 for 5 had cut their teeth. Now they're CEOs, they're executives, but every one of them started.
The beauty of the business, man.
It started the business. I think it's a very special place. And George, to your point, I'd even say it's misunderstood because of how guests feel they understand it. They project their guest experience onto it, and it leads to a misunderstanding of what it actually takes to deliver the consistency and the quality and create value for the guests. And you said the delivering of the good food, that's table stakes. That personalization, that greet the guests, say goodbye to the guests, that's where it becomes truly special.
I think it's music to my ears to hear us have this conversation because, we're the second largest private sector employer in the country. We have 15 plus million jobs out there. They're not dead end jobs. They're not burger flipper jobs. They're not minimum wage jobs. They might fill a moment in time when something's going on in your life and you need a part-time job or you need to work in the evening or you need to get some money for school or whatever. And we fill that. We also fill your first job ever. But then there's the career path.
Yep.
And you look around at the majority of the CEOs of the biggest restaurant companies in this country, they all started as an hourly team member in the restaurant business. And we're also a business that is an apprentice business. It's not about getting a massive education. It's about learning to do it on the job. And the closer you are to the guests, the more you'll understand what you need to do to be successful in our business.
That's a great point.
I think it's great.
On the job training, Jimbo.
As you know, I believe in it. Listen, we're going to shift into one of my favorite sections, talking back. Shats and I, clearly we enjoy speaking to guests. I'm a good listener. Shatsy's the talker of our group, but that was sarcasm, Shatsy. But we created talking.
Yes.
We created talking back because we learned along the way that sometimes our guests have a question or two for us. So George, we're going to give you the microphone. You can ask us anything. And as I like to say, nothing is off the table. George, the microphone is yours, my friend.
Well, I'm very curious about, I got in this business when it was a completely different business, but what do you all think about is the next big trend that we're going to all have to deal with in terms of continuing to build great restaurants that serve the public where they want to be served?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think when I look at it, Jimbo, I always go first because you always take it and make it a better answer. But I think what we're seeing is kind of like a shift where I think you're getting, people are going to want to go out for more and more. People, a lot of people are saying, oh, no one wants to go out anymore. Everyone's just going to sit home and order in. They're going to sit in front of their TV. I don't, that's not true. I just think that to get someone to go out, you need to give them a reason. So I think you really need, obviously that'd be great food, but you really need an experience. So more experiential things. And that could be, it could be fine dining, it could be great wine, it could be it could be, you see a lot of these restaurants opening now with the entertainment type things. You need to give somebody a reason to get off the couch and turn off the Netflix. So I think that you're going to continue to see more and more and more of that because people do love to go out. They do love to socialize. And I think on the other side, I think you're going to see the footprints of some of the restaurants that are doing that delivery business or that pickup there. The footprints are going to shrink and it's going to be less people are going to be going into those kind of places to eat because it really isn't an experience. It's more of, I want lunch. I need a salad. I'm just going to go and grab it and go home or to the office.
Necessary nerves.
Yeah. So exactly. So I think you're going to kind of just see things kind of shifting to two sides, and it's going to be the really terrific experiential, beautiful restaurants and doing all those great things that we talked about. And then it's going to be a smaller footprint where you're going to be just grab and go, or someone's going to deliver. That's kind of the thing I see happening more and more. Jimbo, take it, run with it, Bobby.
No, Shacha, I think your answer is it's not your worst. It was not bad. It was not bad.
There's a compliment somewhere.
It's not bad. No, actually, I think your answer was very good. What I was going to add, I learned, I've always felt that the amount of money that we spend on F&B is somewhat steady state. It might change how much we order in or how much we go out or how much we buy from groceries, but it's somewhat steady state. And actually, the more numbers I look at, the more that actually is incredibly true. George, to your answer and kind of dovetailing Shatsy off your comments, I think, the expression, we're going to have to meet the guests where they're at. For guests that you're going to see a huge proliferation. Grocers are going to have this amazing prepared foods coming up now because you're going to the grocery store anyway, and they're all set up to have these, prepared meals. And you're going to see more of that, which means for the restaurant to earn your patronage, you're going to have to really deliver. Pun was not intended. You're going to have to really offer them that experience. And I think given, the issues we're dealing with labor, for example, and we want people to earn a good living. We want a good livable wage. But the fact is there's certain jobs, I think, in the industry that we're going to have to really rethink, and whether or not we can outsource them or we could leverage technology in a way that is still respectful and satisfies the guest, but where we take our labor and we actually turn them into guest ambassadors and almost enjoyment facilitators. And some of the mundane tasks, you think about the robotic bussers that are basically carrying dirty dishes back to the kitchen. And I'm not making light of that role, but the fact that if it frees up a human to check on that table one more time, or to make sure that guest feels seen and heard. So George, I think we're going to have to really do a better job demonstrating that despite automation And despite some of the things that we're going to need to bring into our restaurants in order to have an attractive margin or an acceptable one, we're still going to have to really care about hospitality, because the guest is going to see this automation.
He can really give you some answer.
And they're going to want to make sure we're still delivering. Shots to tell me to shut up, and I respect
George is checking his watch on that answer, by the way.
Sorry.
He's like checking his watch out.
I couldn't agree with you more in the fact that I think we have necessary nourishment versus genuine hospitality and experience. And what I've seen is people are willing to spend for that, but you got to deliver that enhanced experience for them.
Yes.
Whatever the level of your restaurant is, if it's fine dining, it's got to be executed perfectly. If it's entertainment, it's got to be done well. You know, we've got to go out and meet the customer what they're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's good. Good stuff, Jimbo. Hey, listen, Jim, we're going to rush into the Spice is right now. We are with the dinner legend, the legend of literally of casual dining sitting with us. And we are going to test his skills with Jimmy on the Spice is Right. We are going to go, so without going over, Price is Right rules, I'm going to ask you a question about menu and menu costing. A little something, okay? We're going to talk. Now, don't look over here.
I will.
I think George was trying to look over there. Jimmy, he's trying to look at my answers there.
He's a cagey guy. He gets it.
Jimbo, who loves the chicken and Popeye? Love that chicken and Popeyes. We love, right? Okay. So the Spice is Right tradition, without going over, let's see if you know the cost of Popeye's combo meal. All right. Popeye's combo meal. The combo meal, the classic combo meal, which includes a classic chicken sandwich, one regular side, and a small Pepsi. What is your best guess in dollars and cents? And this is priced based on Popeyes in Route 17 in New Jersey. Shout out to our favorite Popeyes over there, Route 17 in Jersey, Jimmy. Jimmy's never been in New Jersey. Jimmy, George, carry guess. Combo meal.
$5.99.
$5.99. This is New Jersey now. This is not, this is New Jersey. Jimbo, do you care to guess? Jimmy, let me ask again. Maybe can't go over it. This is a classic chicken sandwich, a regular side, and a small drink. I mean, I can't believe this is right. Jimmy, go ahead. You guess.
I was going to say a penny, but I'm not. $7.95.
I mean, it's $11.49. I'm sure this is right. $11.49. Jimmy, you win. I mean, I can't believe that.
If I'm off by $4, I'm not sure that's a win. That's a very large percentage.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to double check with our producer on that. $11.49 for a chicken sandwich, a regular side, a small drink. I got to check the Popeyes Route 17.
First of all, don't question the integrity of the numbers. We know our producer got it right. And I know, let me tell you something else I now know. Popeyes is not going to be sponsoring our podcast after what we just did to them. You're like,
on Route 17. Like,
you're like $11.95 for a simple
Jimmy,
Happy Meal.
Just so you know, it's a very large chicken sandwich. Did I mention that? A very large chicken sandwich. That sounds expensive. Anyway, listen, George's got to go. We got one more segment. I got to go to the branded quickfire. George, I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. It's this branded quickfire Arizona edition. You went out last night. You had a great time with your buddy. You went to a great restaurant, Eddie V's, I believe. Yep. I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. Here we go. Arizona Cardinals or the Phoenix Suns?
Cardinals.
Favorite Arizona-born celebrity? Is it Stevie Nicks? Is it Mr. Alice Cooper? Emma Storr? I don't even know who Emma Storr is. Emma Stone? Emma Stone. Linda Carter. Linda Carter. It's Emma Stone. Whoops. Yeah, Emma Stone or Linda Carter. I got to tell you, she was Wonder Woman. I got to tell you, I love that. Who is it?
Stevie Nicks.
Stevie Nicks. Can't go wrong with that. Cheerful. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark was filmed in Arizona.
False.
Not only was Raiders of the Lost Ark filmed in Arizona, but so were several scenes of the Temple of Doom. Yes. I remember that. I thought that was in Petra and Lake Jordan, but what do I know? Okay. Do you come to Arizona to golf or for the canyons?
Canyon.
All right, here we go. If you were to be stranded in the desert, God forbid with Jimmy and I, God forbid Jimmy and I are stranded that he's like, oh my God, please. If there's a God, he would never do this to me. Who do you have better odds of survival with? Yeah, is it you and me in the desert or Jimmy and you in the desert surviving? What do you think? Why? Why are you picking Jimmy?
I don't know. He just seemed.
I seem like the guy that's going to get us to safety. And Shat, you seem like the guy that got him stranded in the desert.
Yeah, so You probably. I want to know why you picked Jimmy. What is it? Why is Jimmy?
Yes. No, I want to borrow the pets.
That alone makes it worthwhile.
Well, there we go. Listen, I got to tell you, Jimmy, this was a great guest. We are really honored to have. This is a legend here. I mean, George's a legend. Really, we're so fortunate. Jimmy, closing statements.
Yeah,
before we move on, George got to go eat lunch.
Yep, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. You dropped a lot of knowledge and insights, and I can't wait to expound upon them and boost them on some of the other things, because really you've been a tremendous. Again, you've advanced this industry. You've created opportunities for guys like us to actually create fast casual and be part of it. And we appreciate you. And we thank you so much for being on the podcast with us.
If there's one constant in the restaurant industry, it's change. Whether you're a growing brand trying to build cutting-edge experiences for your guests or a national leader with thousands and thousands of stores looking to update your tech stack, well, Toast brings together proven technology, expertise, and innovations you need to drive change and spark growth. That's right, drive change and spark growth. From front of house to back of the house and everything in between, corporate teams, franchisees, enterprise brands, mom pops, SMBs, you name it, everyone is loving Toast. With over 100,000 operators using Toast, you know it's the best POS out there. And many more trust Toast to help them stay ahead of the curve and thrive in this changing restaurant world that we love. To learn more about Toast, go to toasttab.com. That's toasttab.com. And I got to tell you, you're going to love it. Mention Shatsy, and I think they're going to give you some crazy discount.